Happy New Year, YouTube community. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sure there are a lot of bloggers doing New Year's specials, and they're probably doing different kinds of formats. I'm going to do it in three different ways. I'm going to talk about what's happened this year, for sure, in my own life, in the world, good and bad, and thank the new subscribers. I've seen quite a few new ones there have added to the channel recently. Thank you. Obviously, doing the one or two blogs I've done since I've been over here on other people's channels are paying off. And I didn't reach my 500 goal, unfortunately. Wished I had. But you know, there's 2026. We'll do okay, I think, right? Once I'm back in the Philippines, I'll have a lot more exciting content. I'll be doing a bit of traveling around. I'll be reopening the bar, perhaps. But let's talk about what's gone on in 2025. I mean, I'm sitting here back in Canada, unfortunately, for the holidays. I did the 3 fish runs. I might be able to do a 4th one before I go. We'll see if there's enough interest. Yesterday's fish run was a crazy adventure. The van I borrowed broke down halfway through the runs, and I had to pay for a tow, and then I had to summon someone to come and help me. Shout out to the old man. Thank you very much. Didn't think you'd pull through like that, but you did. Thank you. And hopefully you've now subscribed. Now that you know I have a channel. I guess we'll see. Because some of the comments have been, why don't any of my old friends subscribe to my channel or comment on my videos or any of that kind of stuff? And I think it's the same reason why the ones I've invited to come and do videos, like I tried to have my daughter come do a guest spot while I was here, people are shy, right? And they're also still traumatized from the world that was, right? Where cancel culture was unforgivable and viral. And so it's traumatized. I'm using that word the way it's supposed to be used, by the way, not the way it's used in North America. By it, and they're afraid to speak out. They're afraid to be on social media platforms in their own self, in their own skin, and be real. I obviously don't suffer that issue, but a lot of people do. A lot of people do. So, you know, they just aren't willing to show their face on camera or mention how they really feel or answer questions that may or may not be uncomfortable. So it is what it is, and that's why a lot of my people aren't on my channel from my past. Plus also, and I guess this only applies to people like me who have lived an incredibly full life, travel a lot, do a lot of things, meet millions of people, literally, for real. I'm not in contact with most of the people from my youth. I mean, I'm not from some tiny little town in the middle of the States where everybody knows my name because we see the same 200 faces day in, day out. I'm not like a majority of Canadians who live in the same area code from the day they're born to the day they die. And I have no regrets on that. But it is why I'm not in day-to-day contact with a lot of people from my old life. And I don't just mean the life I left when I left for the Philippines. I mean my old life, like pre-kids, living in Ottawa, the political avenues, all of that stuff, right? So, and I don't talk much about certain things on the channel. In fact, I haven't mentioned certain things at all about my personal life because I just, like I say in my closing statements, don't share too much of your personal online. And that's true. Mostly because of the haters. Now, there are some, I hate to say good haters, but we'll say entertaining haters. Throw out to Sad Grandpa, he's one. And he hasn't gone up much in views for all his popularity, or subscribers, I mean, which I'm kind of shocked, actually. I thought people love a good shit show. As the old, song goes, she'll tell you about all the awful things with a gleam in her eye, That being said, doesn't seem to be leading to subscribers. To get traction on YouTube is quite difficult. And, I'm not going to talk too much about other bloggers, but I will talk a bit, even though I'm not in that field anymore, just because it was part of my 2025, right? And very special thanks to Cal, Sunshine Shoulders. Great channel. Lots of subscribers. Definitely, I would like to say, or suggest to say, he's probably one of the bigger, legitimate YouTube bloggers out of the Philippines bloggers. A lot of the other old guys, I mean, they do the same thing. They show little tasties. Their topics are dry and boring. They get a few guest shots here and there with other famous bloggers, so they're all just feeding off each other, right? And piranhas don't eat each other. They just eat other animals that come into the pond, right? So it's sort of like that, right? And for me, I have no regrets about my time in the Philippines. None. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, right? And maybe I'll be going back to a different Philippines in 2026. I don't know yet. Well, we hope it isn't. But I'm a survivor. I'm the kind of guy who's going to make do no matter what. And you really need to be that kind of guy if you're going to go over there. Because there will be ups and downs. And you got to not be a simp. You got to not be the kind of guy who caves into every little whining problem and difficulty and obstacle that you're going to encounter. Because you will encounter them. It's just that simple. And I think you encounter them here. So as much as most, here in Canada, that's where I am right now. As much as most of the bloggers want to complain about how awful the Philippines is in this way and that way, I think it's fantastic. I love it. And when I was recently asked on the last blog there, where I picked up a bunch of subscribers, is, yeah, I would rather be there poor and free than here and have lots of money but be stressed and enslaved. And if you're living in the West, you know what I'm talking about when I say enslavement. You work, and you get nowhere. And then they change the rules every 10 years to make it even more difficult. And it's only for us old stock natives, right? I mean, if you're new off the boat, the government throws you oodles and oodles of money. They let you break laws and rules with minimal consequences. But the cops here spend all their time looking for speeders, looking for seatbelt infractions, looking for driving infractions, while the real crime flourishes all around them, and they just blinders on. I don't see it. Whereas in the Philippines, the cops don't give a crap if you're speeding or driving poorly. They don't care about that. And they have no real crime. The murder rate is ridiculously low. There's no robberies or armed robberies in stores and stuff because they all got guards. There's not junkies everywhere, and they're well hidden because they know, according to the last government, you get executed for that kind of stupidity, which I just think is the right answer. I'm not going to apologetically say that either. You kill zombies. Watch a movie, right? That's how it is. And the shrimp people, the people who are so addicted that they're just curled up on the ground sleeping all the time in their tent cities all over the West, parts of Europe now too, they're zombies, right? So I'm never going to become an apologetic person to how I feel. I am a right-wing person. I am a conservative person. And sure, I hold some liberal ideologies. I think we should have health care. I think that, if you can get more than one to love you over your lifetime, good on you. So I'm not a prude. I'm not, deep in the trenches of religion either, even though I do the Sunday sermon. I do that by request of my followers. You see, part of 2025 was me trying to find my footing on YouTube. And as I said, there's so much competition out there, it's hard to gain a foothold. Unless you go with, the hater market. But even then, like I said, with Sad Grandpa, he isn't getting any new subscribers. I started, and I'm a follower. I'm follow his page, whatever, because his videos are 2 minutes. They're quick and easy to laugh at, and then you move on, right? But it's one of those things where he hasn't gone up even by 500 subscribers since I joined 3 months ago. So it's like, he's got a pretty heavy fan base in the sense that the same guys are always watching his videos and always commenting and stuff, but it doesn't seem to matter, right? So for me, I've tried to diversify my channel. This channel originally started as part of a side project recommended to me by the streamer that I'm doing a cartoon for, as a way to promote the adventure of creating the cartoon. Now, I expected the adventure to only have a 6-month lifespan because I went to the Philippines with one corporate sponsor and a fair amount of my own money. When I say fair amount, my fair amount is much more different than the average YouTuber who goes there. I had, 4 digits, not even 5, right? To create a full 98-minute motion picture, pretty much animated cartoon, right? That was really 2 episodes of a 8-part first season series. And I did really well for the first bit when I stayed focused, when I didn't date, when I wasn't trying to do anything, when I lived on that ridiculously low amount of money. I was down to under $300 a month when I was doing the cartoon of what my living expenses were. And people say, that's crazy, that's bullcrap, you can't. I did. I mean, it's all there. I have the receipts to back it up, right? So my first adventure when I went over in 2024, or was it doing? It was 2024, early 2024. Yeah, I went with nothing. I had very little money. I had a few months of prepaid hotels. But my goal was to get the cartoon done. And, you know, we fashioned up all the main characters for the entire first season. You know, we got a lot of scenery and background done because that was easy and cheap. And you can find those people pretty much anywhere on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook and all these other pages where you would find artists who are looking for work. But the problem is, and this is a problem that's rampant through the Philippines, and I think it's probably here too, I just didn't get the chance to experience it, but is that you will get people in and they'll agree to certain numbers and the numbers will just go up and up and up because you become a cash cow. They lose the gratitude for the work and just expect that you're going to keep paying more and more and more. And I'm the kind of guy where you know, I posted on my personal Facebook page that, you know, some people will tell you I'm the nicest guy in the world, and other guys will tell you I'm a complete asshole. And you know what? They're both right. They got the version of me they deserved. I'm a no-nonsense guy, right? Sure, I'm happy-go-lucky and I'll have a great time. I'm a Gemini. I'm a man of two faces. Do you know what I mean? Two personalities, two hearts, you know? But the minute I'm crossed, the minute that I'm, you know, betrayed, or someone tries to pull something unsavory on me, you know, the claws come out, you know, Wolverine style, shrink, you know, not me, bub, you know. So it's just one of those things where that doesn't go well in a country that is all about saving face. Because instead of a lot of the talent that we had hired and had built up and had been already paying, I mean, some of them made hundreds of thousands of pesos off me, they know they're screwed up. They know they burnt the bridge. They know. But rather than just say, oh, okay, I'll go back to the original price, or, oh, I'm sorry, I'll do it for the reasonable numbers we originally agreed to. They can't do that because of the saving face thing. They've got to dig in their heels, right? I run into this all the time. I did, even with my spouse, like that I have over there, you know. When she's wrong, and she knows she's wrong, but she won't admit it, right? And it's not just mine. That's all Filipino people, period, right? They will not admit when they are wrong. It's a nation of children. Children lie nonstop when they're getting caught for something because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. They don't want to be caught, right? And that's how you have to deal with it over there, right? So, yeah, you're a driver over there, have a camera. You know what I mean? You are dating and something doesn't ring true on what they're talking about to you, call them out on their BS and then block and dump, right? I mean, there are millions, and I'm not using that figuratively, there truly are millions of the exact same girl who you're trying to get with now, who you think is perfect. Just find one that's honest, that's legit, right? And that is really hard. I took a lot of time to vet before I settled on someone, and even then, hasn't been all roses, as people who follow the channel throughout the year know, right? So, do I have regrets? No. I look at all the negatives that happen and all the obstacles that happened this year, last year, any year, as learning experiences. You know, that's where people fail to do well in life, is when they play that victim card, when they dwell on the negatives and they dwell on the failures as reasons why they can't carry on, why they can't move forward, and how it's all someone else's fault, right? Well, when you live that way, you never achieve anything, because sad to say, it's not always someone else's fault. And even when it is, there's shared blame. You trusted, didn't you? You gave, didn't you? You believed, didn't you? You fed along into it, didn't you? So you're just, I wouldn't say as culpable, but you're definitely partially culpable for the failures and the mistakes that happen. Now, one of the things that was nice about 2025 is we have been seeing how wonderful, and here's the thing, I'm going to lose a few followers, but I'll hopefully gain some more. People who don't suffer TDS We saw the beginning of the death of the woke stupidity and the cancer culture. And I say cancer, like the disease, rather than cancel, because it's the same. It's the same, it really is. Coming to an end, hopefully, and starting to swing the pendulum the other way, thanks to President Trump. So Happy New Year, President, and your family. As a Canadian, I thank you for what you're doing. And even though I never ever want to be an American, especially because even if we join now, you're not in power forever. So who knows when the swamp refills, what it'll be do to the rest of us here in Canada. But Canada is gone. We're Canistan, right? I mean, I landed in the Vancouver airport when I came back this time. I didn't see a single white face outside of the first class lounge for Air Canada. And I'm not being racist. I'm with a Filipino, right? I have lots of foreign friends. But I find it difficult to believe that there is no Canadian old stock people who would rather have jobs working in security or customs or all these things. And I find it really hard to believe that people who have only been here a few years, based on the accents and the attitudes I observed there, can pass those security checks to get those kinds of very sensitive jobs. But I also find it difficult to believe that a great company like Tim Hortons would soil their reputation, or Canadian Tire, by only hiring foreign workers just to get a subsidy. And I was talking with my old man about that yesterday. I got stuck with it for 7.5 hours in a car. And he used to own Tim Hortons franchises, and now he works for one. In his 70s. Because you can't retire here. You pretty much have to work until you die. Shout out to George, the OC transport driver I met on my first day back. Guy's 76. Busting his hump. Driving bus for 9 hours a day. Now he's driving in a good bus, like a city bus. He makes good money, I'm sure. But it's still not enough to retire. Right? But they have money to give new, fresh off the boat people $230 a day per person per household. Like, there are some people getting $30,000, $40,000 checks a month from the Canadian government. And they're not spending that money here. Majority of that money gets sent back to their country, just like the Somalians are doing in America, right? And just like Filipinos do when they come work here. It is what foreigners do. When they come to the land of milk and honey, North America, Europe, Australia, they're not doing it to better your country. They're doing it to make money to send home to their loved ones. And I don't even fault that. That makes perfect sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is why a country like the Philippines can have such a wonderful and very intelligently run immigration system. And I don't use the word intelligent in that they're smart. No, they're still children. But it makes sense. You renew every 60 days. If you're late, you pay a fee. If you're late too long, they kick you out and they don't let you come back. Whereas Canada, not only can you just show up and stay, but they'll put you on the public purse. America was doing the same until Trump came along and said, hell no. And yes, immigrants were getting free health care. All these things I hear Democrats say, oh no, it's not true, that's not true. It is true. There's oodles of evidence. But when you suffer Trump derangement syndrome, as many, and I meet them in the Philippines too. It's crazy. I had this one guy, I never met him, I just helped him out with a bunch of stuff. But he's always posting Trump derangement stuff. And I'm like, bro, you are a passport bro. You think the Democrats like you? You're an old guy with a young, gorgeous Filipina living in the third world, quote-unquote, third world country. You're scum to the Democrats. They don't like you. You're supposed to stay here and be a good little incel, have no woman, and be miserable and be broke. And be happy that you're living among all the foreigners who make more than you and the junkies who get freebies and get away with crimes. You're not supposed to leave. That's not the left way of doing things, right? The left way is you're supposed to stay. So when I meet people over there, and I do, crazy amount of them, who are anti-Trump, who are, hugging on to left-wing crazy propaganda talking points, it's like, what? Are you smoking crack? Like, how on earth can you be supporting the people who have ruined your homeland so much that you had to leave? Now, here in Canada, it's a different situation. Pierre Polynov, I met him 3 times in person, and he's a nice guy. He's a great guy, but he is a career politician. He went from college right into politics. And they'll never let him win. And if he wins, he won't get to do anything that's truly right-wing. We don't have a right-wing party in Canada. We don't even have a center party, really, in Canada. They're all pretty lefty. None of them are talking the way they need to be talking, like President Duterte in the Philippines. He gave the right solution. And I've heard people say bad stuff about him. Oh, he made death squads. Oh, he did this. Oh, he killed innocent people. You know what? I'll be honest. And I mean, I know, once again, I'm not going to say sorry because I'm not apologetic. You break a few eggs to make an omelet. And the fact that he cleaned up his country so efficiently and so well is exactly why he's in the Hague. Sure, did a few innocent people die along the way? Yep. Would millions more innocent people have died had that drug plague, epidemic, whatever you want to call it, spread throughout his country for another 5 years? For sure. Think of all the children that get neglected by their junkie parents. Think of all the people who OD when they're doing powerful drugs when they've never done them before. Think of all the young girls who get roped into bad jobs and SA'd and all the other negativities that come in the drug trade. By eliminating that as a major portion of Philippine society, he saved millions of lives. But the people who suffer these delusions, these oh, no, only want to look at the tiny bits of negative. And like I said, I think the total number is somewhere around 7,000 executions during his tenure. This is President Duterte. Let's say 1,000 were innocent people. And it sucks, sure. It's fair. It's fair. How many people die in wars created for BS reasons, right? It's really that simple. So, if you can lose, 10,000 Americans in Afghanistan or 10,000 Canadians in World War II, after the war's pretty much over, why can't you lose 1,000 out of millions and millions and millions to save millions of people, right? I just don't look at it in the same way that the lefty people do, because they don't have an answer. They don't have a solution. They only have complaints. And that's worldwide. And that's why they put Mr. Duterte in the Hague. Because just like now, El Salvador is one of the greatest places in the Western world now. Why? Because their president came in and enough's enough. You're a gang member piece of crap, you're going to jail. You're covered in gangland tattoos, whether we got you for a crime or not. You put that crap on your body, you're going to prison. And now, from being the highest murder rate in the world, most dangerous place in the West, to being the best in under a year, yay 2025. Unless the world gets together and starts getting firm, tough love on the ailments, starts radiating the cancers that plague us, we're not going to get any better. You don't see places like China with these problems. Now, I'm not saying China's good. I'm not Trudeau. I'm not going to be all like, I wish we could be like China. No. What I do wish for, though, is there's a little common sense in government, where decisions are not made based on corporate interests or based on money. And I know that's just crazy talk for me. See, once again, I am somewhat liberal, in the sense that I wish we had governments that were benevolent. And it's why I think, like some countries, like the Philippines in particular, I'll use it because I've lived there, I have first-hand boots-on-the-ground experience, it requires a monarchy, a permanent head of government that cares about the people, like Thailand has. Sure, they have some issues in their parliament, they have issues with the military doing coups every now and again against the voted people, but the royal family stays consistent, and so things stay consistent. And that's why Thailand has not had the issues that all the other Asian countries have had over its long and beautiful history. And it is a great country. I mean, if they had a better visa program, I'd be living there instead of the Philippines. I mean, Thailand is heaven on earth. For real. All of its negatives doesn't matter. And I'm not talking about the sex trade, because to be honest with you, I don't go for that reason. I am a very conservative guy. I'm not into girls who give it away like candy. I'll never pay for sex. I know there's so many of these expats that go to the Philippines, just lead with their wallet. They're paying one way or another for every piece of tail they're getting. I'm never going to be that guy. I first off don't think I need to be that guy. I could pick up girls no matter what in any country. Even being poor, I'm a brokey, but I do really well if I want to. The catch is that I don't want to, because I don't think that's the goals in life. I don't think that those should be the ideals we strive for. And that's part of the problem, is I'm someone who thinks the way the world used to think. And the world has, sadly, either forgotten how to behave or doesn't want to. And so there's not really a happy, happy, happy place for me anywhere. You know, I'm never going to be happy back in North America unless some serious things change. You know, a lot of politicians hanging from ropes, judges, people who were corrupted, you know, or at least doing long-term, back-breaking manual labor, prison camp style incarceration. No Mr. Trudeau teaching drama class in his colorful socks in Millhaven. No, no, no. He can do that for the first 4 or 5 years, but once his ring is big enough that we don't hear him fart anymore, right to a mine somewhere in northern Manitoba, shackled to 2 other guys hacking out coal or whatever else they're mining in that mine. That's the answer. And seize all their assets. You know, they're quick to seize assets of Russian people when they did this Russian situation with Ukraine. But then they let their own people steal. And they don't take anything away. And they wonder why you have so many bad people in politics and in government positions, because they've been rewarded for their bad behavior. And the people don't stand up against it. Now, I'm too young to stay in Canada and lead a revolution. They just put me in chains. I'd be locked away for the rest of my natural life. And that's not how I want my story to end. So the only other option is to leave. And that's what I did. And it wasn't an easy choice. Certain things, the gods gave me certain signs, we'll say. You know, my dog died. My family mutinied on me. Didn't have any physical stores of my own to worry about or any staff that I had to care about. So, you know what? It was an opportune time in my life to make a change. And say you just got divorced or you're widowed or you are, you know, in a situation where, you know, you're between jobs, but you own a house. Perfect time. That's the gods telling you to try something new. That's the time to make a metamorphosis, to get in your little cocoon and come out as a butterfly or a moth. Either way, you're coming out as something different. And the reality is that to go over to the Philippines with even $50,000 and a pension, you're set for life. You really are. Just don't be a damn simp. Don't pay a dime to a woman you've never met. That's rule number 1. I just can't stress that enough. And so many other bloggers have tried to warn you about that. You just got to listen. If you're on this page because you're thinking of moving over there, or you want to have yourself a beautiful, young, sexy, wholesome bride in your next engagement, in your next relationship, you can have that there. I mean, maybe I'm not the best person to take advice from, because I wasted a lot of time trying to find wholesome and good and all these things. And I did find better than average, but wholesome is real hard there, because they're all been indoctrinated to the modern mentality of the social media, where it's fine to dance around half naked on camera, where it's fine to be very provocative and things like that, because it's not considered amoral. Yet this is the same people who will tell you it's a sin to masturbate or it's a sin to go to nudie bars. Right? It's like, what? How can you be doing it online and it's just fine, but if you do it in person, it's wrong? Hypocrisy is rampant throughout the world. So I don't have an answer for you if you're a conservative like me who is looking for something, unless you maybe go Muslim world, but let's be realistic. That has its huge negatives too. So I don't know. I just think that in this year, in 2025, we did see the world start to recover from all the damages of the woke retardation. Yes, I use the word retard. I use it all the time. I never stop. Not gonna. I use the N-word too. I use a whole bunch of words that people don't allow me. Now, I don't use the N-word in a derogatory way. I will say that because I have a lot of black friends. I use it in, like, I listen to rap music too. It doesn't make me a bad person. You know, I'm not expropriating someone's culture. I listen to rock music too. I listen to pretty much everything but country. Pretty much everything but country, to be honest. I mean, so, because I don't want to listen to some sad hillbilly singing in a twanging tune, or some slutty girl dancing around in skin tight stuff. We have some great country artists here, like Shania Twain. I've even met her. She's a nice woman, but her music sucks, and it's incredibly hoary. So I have no interest in that kind of medium, right? It's one of these things where there isn't really a comfortable place for people like me anymore in the world. You're not going to find one, because they don't want people like me or people who have my mentality to have a voice anymore. And that's why I like YouTube, because it gives us a chance to a small chance. You still got to censor yourself. Still got to be very careful what you say and who you say it to, or what you say about. But it gives us a small avenue to try and reach other people, right? Like, I don't particularly like Andrew Tate as a human. I think he's a disgusting human, and I think he's a crappy man. But I have to say I agree with him a lot more than I do 90% of the other people who have platforms, because he keeps it real. And even though I might not agree with what he says or like what he says, I respect his right to say it. I respect his right to believe it. And I respect his right to spread it. Because it takes people believing in it or having the same shared experiences to agree with it. And that's where it comes up to, how do we educate people? How sheltered are people? What kind of life are the people living that they can buy into his philosophies? There are so many, I would say a majority, like a very high majority, like 80 percentile majority, of young men, 30 and under here in North America, who are never going to have a happily ever after. Just never. Because there aren't any women to make them happy. One of my friends sent me a meme today saying, he feels sorry for parents today, that they have to not only describe the birds and the bees to their kids, but they got to describe the birds and the birds, the bees and the bees, the birds that used to be bees, the birds that used to be bees and still have a stinger. Like, it has gotten that crazy, right? So when you can't here in North America go up to a girl and say, "Oh, you look really good, you're very beautiful, what's your name, can I have your number?" That's a crime. That's a crime. That's sexual harassment. You're not allowed to compliment someone. Even when I used to be a public person, I believed in the philosophy. I still do, to be honest. And it gets me in some arguments at home, trust me, where I believe in complimenting people on mundane things. "Oh, that's a nice brooch. Oh, I like your hair. Oh, that's a nice dress." Just some positive words. But now they're all taken out of context, right? Now if I say, "Oh, that's a nice dress," it means, "Oh, I'm really commenting on your body and I want to get you naked and have sex with you." No, I don't. "Oh, that's a nice brooch." "Oh, you're hitting on that girl. You're flirting with her." No, especially when she's old enough to be my grandma. Do you know what I mean? It's that we're so surrounded by negativity. We're so used to hearing only negative things that we are no longer physically, mentally capable of accepting good things. And if we do, we have major suspicions in them, right? And I don't want to live like that. I just don't. And I feel you shouldn't have to. But here in North America, you do. And so, like I say to people, when they start complaining about the West, and they complain about the tax, and they complain about the government, then leave. That's what people used to say to me, thinking it would shut me up. No, I left. Bye. And I have zero regrets. I miss my kids, sure, and I don't want them growing up to be morons and not know what tools are or things like that, but I know people who are raised by third generations of the junkie collective, meaning their grandma was a junkie, their mom was a junkie, now they're borderline junkie. It's like, they're stupid. When you don't know what the N in the drive shift of a car means, meaning neutral, and you have a license, you're effing stupid. When you're so cowardly that you will let people disrespect you openly because you can't stand up for yourself, verbally or physically, you're not going to do well in the real world. You're just not. But we've gotten away from the idea of standing up for yourself. Oh, people will go and protest and swing signs and burn buildings for someone else virtue signaling. But they won't stand up for themselves. And that doesn't make sense to me. And I'll never be that person. Sure, do I feel bad about some of the injustices that happen to certain subcultures? Yes. Do I believe the lie that here in Canada we were really bad to the natives? No, we're bad to the natives now. Way more than we ever were back 100 years ago when they're trying to, say we were so bad. Yeah, we put them in schools and that were religiously run, and yeah, there might have been a bit of abuse, but there were abused white kids in that era too. And when people died in mass in these homes, in these schools, well, you go check the graveyards, the white kids were dying too, because influenza used to kill people, germs and infections used to kill people. That's why we have penicillin, folks. It's not just for sexually transmitted diseases. So it's one of these things where I look at it as we're no longer capable of logical thought. And we believe whatever we see online as if it's gospel. Like the mainstream media, it has zero credibility with anybody who has an iota of intelligence. And I would say the same for governments. I mean, maybe it's because I've been well read and I've never been a believer in the goodness of governments. But I mean, they have a purpose. There is a purpose to governments. I'm not saying we should have no governments. I'm not an anarchist. But I know they're full of shit, and I know they lie, and I know they only care about their own self-interest. I've always known that. That's why I've always cared about my self-interest and my family's self-interest, above and beyond any kind of media-directed issue that they want to try and propagate as gospel. But the governments here in Canada, we went from being an inclusive country that did really well with that kind of mentality to being incredibly decisive, because that's an easier way to rule. We had democracy. We had the best election system in the world, man. I know, because I used to work for Elections Canada. Every time there was an election, I'd go be a scrutineer, I'd go be a counter, it was really good pay for 3 days of work. So I know our system, how it worked. I do, 100%. Plus, I've been on the other side of things, helping candidates run, so I know all of that side of things. We were as pure and legitimate as you could possibly get. We should have been the example for every other democracy in the world. Maybe not the first past the post part, but the counting of votes, the making sure the legitimacy of that. But now we're just like the States, we're just like Europe. It's all digitalized, it's all machines. So numbers can be fudged, votes can be added, votes can be taken away. It is what it is. It is what it is. We're not in a democracy. It's the illusion of freedom. It's like old battery commercials back in the day, Duracell and Energizer competing with each other, arguing with each other, say which one was better. It's the same company. It's the same company. Right? It was just a way to make it so they could justify charging way more for their batteries than Eveready or, any of the other no-name brands that came along in that era, who were just normal batteries. Maybe they were a bit older and they had to re-sticker them. But the reality is people have gotten too stupid to critically think. And that's why you have all these Trump derangement syndrome people out there. And you have all these elbows uppers. Like, the guy is such a scammer. $1.6 million to build a trailer home? And his company gets a contract for 3,000 of these? You give me $1.6 million, I can build half a neighborhood. Especially in the Philippines. And that's why I tell people, you got an old parent, you got someone, or you're a senior yourself, you're going to go to an old age home and you're going to spend $3,000 to $9,000 a month to live? Are you effing crazy? You go to the Philippines, you could spend, if you're spending $3,000, let's just use that number, you would have yourself an amazing mansion palace, a chauffeur, 3 on-the-clock nurses that change shifts, so you always have someone right there to fetch you something, cook you something, wipe your butt for that same $3,000. No one's going to be abusing you. No one's going to be, scamming you or upping your fees every few months or any of the other things that happen in old age homes over here in North America. And the nurses over there, they're happy to get their $300 a month. That's what a nurse makes over there. So if you're paying her $350 and she's only got one client, you, and she only works 8 hours a day, and another nurse works 8 hours, and another nurse works 8 hours, so you're spending $900 to $1,000 to have round-the-clock, professionally trained private nursing. And then you have your house. Now, when I said that $3,000, okay, I'm saying you give yourself $1,000 to eat really good foods, so you're staying healthy and strong, so you're eating not a bunch of chemicals, not a bunch of garbage processed foods like they serve you here. All these old age homes, too, it's all Cisco frozen shit food. So it's like you're paying $9,000 a month to be eating garbage? What? Your kids are doing that for you? No, they're not. And also, they have to avoid the responsibility of living with you themselves. Mom and Dad's too much work, too much hassle. I'm just going to put them in a home. Yeah, they'll be happier there. There'll be other old people to talk to. Really? And that's part of why one of my plans in 2026 will be, if I don't do it in these first few months back before I leave for the summer, yeah, I'll do it in September. If I even go back to the Philippines. If I'm going back to being a single guy who never gets to see my kid and is just living there to try and enjoy the fun single life, I don't want the fun single life. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love cooch. I'm not going to ever stop having fun. I'll be 85 and still having 2 or 3 dates a week. And maybe by then I will have to pay for it if I want the quality I want. But for now, that's not my main focus, right? My main focus is to secure retirement for myself. Because there's not going to be any pensions for people my age in Canada. Our elbows up retard prime minister has already decided he's giving most of that money off to Saudi Arabia. Which is like, Saudi Arabia? Are you kidding me? They're already ridiculously rich with oil. They're so rich, they have the most free health care, dental care, full coverage. Like, you get an ingrown toenail there, they'll send a doctor right to your tent to fix it, right? Like, it's really good health care there. Okay, I say really good meaning it's fast and that. It's not good in that they're all really trained doctors, but it's just, there's no co-pays, okay? There's none of those side fees. And every citizen in Saudi Arabia gets a nice big check every month as a dividend of the oil. So this is not a country that's poor. This is not a country that needs any investments from Canada. But our PM's going to get a nice big healthy kickback, so he's going to do that. He's going to squander off and burn off that nice big pension fund that's been reserved for Canadian pensions that Canadians paid into. It's bad enough that if you're fresh off the boat but you're the right age, you'll get it right away when you never worked and never paid into it. But now it's all going to be gone. So there won't be a pension for my age. So it's just like, I think that no matter what age you are, if you are a Canadian, there's a reason to leave. If you're a young man, you leave to go find a good wife, to try and have a proper chance at having a normal life. That's one. If you're a middle-aged man, well, or woman, it's worth going because why on earth are you working so darn hard paying 60% of your incomes into taxes to be given to immigrants and junkies? It's not going to you. Our healthcare sucks. Our penal systems are harsher on white, old stock Canadians, boy or girl. Shit, in my community, you don't even get free garbage pickup. You got to buy a bag tag. So it's one of these things where, what are you paying that 60% taxes for? You don't get good policing because there's junkies everywhere and crime everywhere, and the police are too busy catching speeders and seatbelt infractors and people who have had 2 beers today while driving. It's like, F off. F off. Why are you watching junkies go around robbing and stabbing and stealing? So it's just one of those things where you don't get anything of value for your tax dollars. They don't even have a military in Canada anymore, for Christ's sakes, right? Let alone be able to defend you against a foreign invasion. Right? So, and if you're an older citizen, well then, do you really want to retire here? Where it's cold? Where your kids are going to shuffle you off into a shitty-ass, overpriced, Cisco-feeding old age home? Or would you rather go to somewhere nice and tropical and warm and awesome? Well, sure, if you need security, there's security at the gates. Security at every store you go to. That's why there's no crimes. The only time people get robbed in the Philippines is if they inflict it on themselves. Now, I'll say that with an asterisk beside it. There's the occasional street robbery. That happens here too. But here you could be going into a school to pick up your kid and maybe get shot. Or your kid gets shot. That doesn't happen in the Philippines. You could be at the mall when some crazed guy runs around with a machete chopping people down. That doesn't happen in the Philippines. You could be walking your dog at night and a bunch of junkies jump on you and kick the shit out of you for $5 that's in your wallet. And kick your dog too. John Wick style. You know? You don't get that in the Philippines. Right? So, and your $1,000 a month will keep you alive over there. The $1,400 they give you as a base pension here in Canada will not keep you alive, at least not comfortably. That's why there are so many seniors in homeless shelters, so many seniors that are forced to live with their kids, or forced to live in cohabitable existences with several other seniors that they may or may not get along with. But if it's 4 old ladies, Golden Girls style, sharing a house, well, it's the only way they can survive because their kids don't want to help them, their kids don't want to take care of them, or they were selfish feminists who never had kids, so their option was become a crazy cat lady with other crazy cat ladies, or find a rich guy you can sponge off of, some other old widower who is lonely, so you'll trick him into marrying you in your 70s. I've seen that happen a few times too. That's what I mean. Whether you're male or female, there's not really a good path over here at the end of the days. If If you want a successful, happy twilight year, it happens over there. It happens out of Canada, out of the West. Like, there isn't even snowbirds that want to go to the States anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because it's gotten crazy in the States too. It's a Western-wide problem. When I say West, I don't just mean Canada and America. What else happened that was good this year? You know, I really can't think of a lot of good things that happened in North America this year. Just can't. You know what I mean? But I can think of hundreds of bad things. I don't even watch Western news anymore when I'm over in the Philippines because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. It's not my problem anymore. And you can have that same freedom. You could leave here. You could go over there with your pension, liquidate your assets here, and be comfortable. And just what you're saving every month. If you've been there for 10 years and you were saving $300 or $400 a month, because you would, because there's leftover pension money every month, unless you're foolish and get saddled with a Filipina. And I've got fucking North American friends who have done this to themselves, where they get great pensions, but they're broke at the end of every month because they're Filipina. The Filipinas are good at parting you with your money. They've always got this to invest in, or their family needs this, or they need that. When I talk about the fourth hole, it is legitimate. It's the hole in their pockets. They never have enough money, and it's only about money for that. I was hoping I would find true love over there, that I would find someone that I could just, and maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm just saying, these are all just me talking at this stage. But, you know, it doesn't matter how much you care. It doesn't matter any of those things. You could be the nicest guy in the world. But it's all about money. The Filipino people are really money-centered. Everything is about, what does the Jones have? I got to look better. I got to show off. I've got to have this. I've got to have that. I want to buy a whole pig every 2 months for some bullshit made-up holiday. And they are kind of, you know, in my opinion, not the most productive workers. At least not back there. They are when they come here. Because the ones that come here are the best. They're the ones that are willing to sacrifice to come here to take care of their family back there. That's the difference between importing Filipino workers to, say, work in Canada versus other culture groups who come here and just say, just like a Filipino kid, give me money, right? So it's one of these things where I would like to say that things could get better in the West. I don't think they are. I don't think they're ever going to get better. And every summer I come back and I will sell off more and more of my assets. No, I'm not liquidating. I'm too young to just be giving away everything I worked for just to have instant cash in hand. I would rather, you know, do it slowly. I don't mind. Yeah, it sucks to be poor. And I don't like, this year I did have to start asking for donations on the channel. And I did that under recommendation of a few other bloggers. And yeah, it's gotten me some hate. And I haven't really gotten that many donations. But then I think of friends who have pages that have reached millions, who have Patreon, and just their Patreon check every month is $35,000 USD. So I'm just new, right? I'm only 1.5 years in on this channel. And the first half year, I didn't do anything with the channel. I was too busy making the cartoon that this channel was for. Now we've branched out into being a travel blog, a retirement preparation blog. I share my mechanical skills and my house building skills, my engineering skills. So I call those the dad videos because you can watch them and learn how to do things if you didn't have a dad to teach you things. Like that idiot kid who doesn't know N means for neutral. It's like, what the hell? You know, so it's just things like that. And a lot of North American kids are stupid because there isn't a dad at home. Or the dad who's at home is useless as a pair of tits on a bull as well, right? So when you have the blind leading the blind, that's why nobody knows how to read. Right? So people here got to pick their battles better. Pick what's important and what's not. And they just don't. They just don't have that capacity, be it a mental one or an emotional one anymore. And they're all participation badge people, right? There's, you know, they actually hate on the winners, you know, hate on anyone that goes against the stream. Like, I recently got a bunch of hate on another page that I'm on from friends because of things that other people who are connected to me posted that go against what I have said about those people. So, and I confronted the person. I was like, can you not just cause strife? Just cause arguments. Because then it makes me look like I'm a liar, right? That what I said about them is not true, and I'm just out here spewing garbage, right? And it's one of these things where, and I've had people without doing the bio there, same thing. I'm up to letter M. I'll post it later today. I might even make that video after this. I was going to try and have it where there'd be an extra chair right here, and my daughter would be doing a guest vid, but she adamantly refused. So, I mean, my older daughter. You guys have all seen my younger daughter. But what happens is I get hate on those too. Oh, you're so full of crap. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. What reason do I have to lie? It's not like I'm making millions of dollars on this platform, right? Or even thousands of dollars, right? I'm making nothing. And I don't care what anybody thinks about me. That's what makes me have the true independence and freedom I have. Is I just don't care. Now, I'm not deliberately a bad person. I don't go out of my way to be an asshole because I believe in karma. And so I always try to be a nice person. But I don't care what people think, especially people whose own lives suck. So when people here in the West, North Americans especially, try and tell me, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong. It's like, really? And how's your life? Oh, your life is shit as well? Then you don't get to tell me anything. It's like, I don't believe in doctors of psychiatry and stuff like that because they would have us all be weak simps, right? They would have us all be pushovers, all on medicines. They don't want to live in the real world. The real world is ugly. The real world is mean. The real world is tough. And their answer, those kinds of medical professionals, is, the exact opposite of what it should be for anyone to succeed. Because if you keep failing and keep needing therapy, well, that's great for them because, they keep getting to bill you, right? Whereas one of my favorite psychiatrists that I see on TV is Dr. Victor Blaine. And he's a meme. But it's perfect. Because it's exactly how psychiatrists and therapy people should be when they get crazies in their seats. Don't tell them how everything is going to be fine and they're perfect just the way they are. No, they're clearly not. They're not happy. And nobody likes them. Right? For me, it's not a contest about how many people like you. I don't care if people like me or not. I would like them to. And I don't go out of my way to make them not like me. I'm not the grumpy old man who yells at you for crossing my lawn. But at the same sense, I'm not going to let you drive your dirt bikes and rip my lawn to all to pieces and then flip me the bird and get away with it. You're going to get a rock thrown at you or some other, consequence. So it's just one of those things where in 2026, a lot of my fan base, I hope it grows. Hopefully by the end of 2026, we're up to 1,000 followers. And, or more. And I have to tell you all, again, I'm going to end this soon, so that's why I'm coming into my closing statements here is, always feel free to ask me questions. Post your comments. Be they hate or be they love, I don't care. I'll reply back. I'm not shy. I'm your Huckleberry. But it's one of those things where, end of the day, I don't live in this modern mentality that I let other people dictate how I feel about things, what my eyes see, or what my life's going to be. And I know I'm swimming against the stream by just abandoning Canada and saying, I'm out. But Canada left me a long time ago. It's like all those people who used to be Democrats who aren't anymore because the Democrat Party got too stupid in America. Same here in Canada. I know people who once were liberals and now they're conservatives, but they don't vote. They just don't vote. They say they're not liberals anymore, but they don't vote conservative. They just stop voting, period, right? So it's one of these things, and even the Conservative Party here is not really a right-wing party, right? So, and we do need that. We do need a return of capital punishment. Why on earth is it considered more humane to lock someone else up for 70 years in a cage than just put them down? Jails are supposed to be a temporary solution to make people change their behavior before they were reintegrated back into society. So if you're putting someone in jail for more than 20 years, that's a clear sign you don't want them in your society anymore. And the crime that they committed is just so bad. But why should the rest of taxpayers be punished? You get pieces of crud like Paul Bernardo, who is a famous SA murderer in Canada. infamous is the term I'll use. I don't want to say famous because there's nothing good about the guy, but it's one of these things where it costs over $750,000 a year to keep him incarcerated. That's an awful lot of insulin. That's an awful lot of CAT scans and nursing wages every year that could be better spent than keeping one sack of crap human alive that nobody wants alive. So yeah, you want to be a real right-wing party, you want to actually represent real right-wing values over here, stop resurrecting junkies who OD. They OD, they die. If you commit a violent crime while under the influence, and I mean like murder, I don't mean just you smack your grandma or something. I mean, I don't think that's good either. But I'm saying capital offenses. While you're high, you get put down. You get executed. It's that simple, right? You're overstaying your immigration, we kick you out. No, we don't have an open border. You know, sorry, government entities, government people who are elected or not, their finances, their day-to-day life is 100% scrutinized by a machine. And if they're stealing, if they're frauding, if they're embezzling, they go right to jail, and all of their assets, and potentially for certain people, like say Mr. Trudeau, their family and friends too will get audited, and their assets will be seized too. Those are the kinds of things I need to hear. And I would like to see Don Cherry on the $100 bill. So, I see those things. Okay, then maybe I come back and live in Canada permanently. Definitely got to see some politicians in jail. And not because they had sex with their nanny. I don't give a shit who they're doing in their private time. I care about the public theft. I care about the passing laws that are just outrageous. Judges who choose to let chronic sex offenders loose. Or give them minimal sentences. They need to hang. They need to be... Not hang. I don't mean that in like the actual executional sense. I think they need to go to jail. They need to suffer. They need to have all their assets stripped. And they need to be punished for making bad choices on the bench. That's simple. Crown attorneys that want to go after innocent civilians without evidence, they need to be punished too. Because a lot of times the people they're going after for political reasons. They don't like what they say or they represent. If you don't have evidence, you shouldn't ever get to that court stage. And that's where cops need to start going back to doing their job. Instead of sitting in their cruisers for 8 hours looking for speeders, go do some real work. Walk through the ghettos. Get a hold of the problems. Put them in cuffs. Leave them inside without bail. It's not crazy. It's the way it used to be. And we lived in a better society. One of my favorite things about the Filipinos is how safe children are. Kids run around playing with each other in the street, in their neighborhoods, just like we used to do back in the 80s. Now, holy crap, you cannot let your kid go to the park. Because he might step or sit on a needle. Or some junkie might try and rough him up, beat him up for his iPhone. You know, and there's no consequences for that junkie. Because they're just a junkie, and that cop's arrested that person 3 times already this week. So you have a choice. If you're getting older, if you're over 50, we'll say, or you have a pension, or you just have enough assets and you're done, you want to just liquidate and leave. And do that while you can. Because they don't write mortgages very easily in North America anymore, especially not in Canada. So a lot of these young people are never going to be buying your house off you when you're old and trying to sell it. You're in that last little grip where you could sell your house now for decent money to some foreigner who the government's paying for the house. So good, get some of your taxes money back. Liquidate while you can. Get out while you can. Yeah, keep your Canadian bank account. Open one there. Open one in Thailand. Open maybe an American branch. Spread your money out in multiple countries so that this way if the Canadian government decides to go crazy and start seizing big bank accounts, because they're already going after or trying to go after. This is the 3rd time they're trying to pass an equity bill where they're going to try and tax the equity that you have saved up on your home. Equity is the money that your house is worth versus what you owe. So if you have $1 million house, but you only have a $150,000 mortgage left, they're going to be taxing that $850,000. Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of people are going to lose their houses when that bill passes. And the other problem is if you're someone like me who's been very outspoken and very truthful, very shoot from the hip your whole life, online and off. I mean, come on. Some of the political engagements I've been involved in and speaking things that I'm sure people recorded. So even if I don't have copies, there are copies out there. Where I say things that the government doesn't agree with. I mean, I've said lots of things in this spiel alone. I do believe in capital punishment. I do believe in forced rehab for first-time drug offenders. But that's all considered hate speech now here almost. It will be once they pass that law. And then that'll be enough to take away your passport, not allow you to have bank accounts, not allow you to have internet. So how can you run a business? How can you live as a free citizen with any of those criteria stapled to you? You can't. And that's the point. The goal here is for everybody to have nothing and be happy for it. The goal is also for everybody to be poor so that they can't fight back and to not have much family, because a large family can link together. There's a reason why the Patels own all of the convenience stores and hotels and Tim Hortons now all over North America, because they stick together. One brother will help another brother, will help another brother, will help another brother. Just keep buying, keep building businesses. And they'll work 12, 14, 16-hour days in their own business to make it work. Whereas North American old stock is me first, selfish sons of bitches. And so you have a choice. Do you really think your kids are going to take care of you, or are they going to shuffle you off to a crappy old age home that's overpriced and eats away at your retirement nest egg in leaps and bounds? Or should you just get out? Create your own old age home where you're the only citizen in it and you're happy and you got your own 3 nurses and you're eating really good, normal, healthy, wholesome foods, and you're not seeing winter anymore, because winter ages you. There's no doubt about that. Older people stay indoors more. They're breathing the same stale air. They're not exercising as much during the winter. They age. I think every winter you spend indoors is 2 winters. Do you know what I mean? So you go to the Philippines, you go anywhere warm, and you can go Thailand after 55. The retirement visa is actually not that difficult there. After 55. I'm still in my 40s. And for all the haters who hate on me and say, oh, man, I'm just following the path that the gods have put out before me, right? I wasn't planning on leaving and quasi-retiring in my 40s. Last summer, I sold off crazy amounts of projects. I liquidated so much equipment because that was part of my original life plan. I figured I would work on those old cars and tinker on them with my kids, and I would, have those extra stores, and I would do that contracting thing, and I would have all these things I needed to acquire over my lifetime. I would be using them in my, not twilight years, but my, dusk, we'll call it, the years before the twilight. But just everything converged to say, no, you're free to go now. Thank you. And on that note, I left, and I don't like being broke, that's for sure, but I don't really worry about it because I have so many skills that I know I can recover. Now, if you are a Westerner who's just a pencil pusher who doesn't have any manual labor skills and isn't incredibly high IQ, I don't suggest doing what I've done. I'll be upfront about that. But I also am only this way because I'm altruistic. I'm not a greedy son of a bitch, and I wasn't going to take from my family to go ride off into the sunset. And I know many of the other Western men are just fine doing that, because I get a lot of people saying that. No, I left my houses to my family. I left my businesses, except for the fish market, which they didn't want to run. All I took with me was my intellectual properties, which I can use to make money in the future, and that's what the cartoon's about. And $2,000. And a suitcase of clothes I could barely wear in the Philippines. And a laptop. That's all I left with. Because I have enough faith in myself that I can survive. I can make do, I can adapt, and I can find a way to thrive. And if you can do the same thing, then do it. If you can't, then fine, take your half when you leave, or sell off what you've got here right away for, whatever you can get for it to leave. But once you go over there, you'll be fine. You will, really. Just avoid the big city tourist traps. Don't live in Cebu. Don't even land in Manila. I don't even like to transfer planes in Manila anymore. It is simply a city on a map that I have zero interest in ever visiting again. If I have to, I have to. But it's not my choice, right? I land and leave from Cebu, and I go south from Cebu. Either San Carlos, Negros Occidental, where I live, is great. It's a nice island. You can travel around to about 10 different really nice big cities. Dumaguete's on that island, which is a European white man's stronghold. I personally have only been there once, and it didn't seem that great to me, and the mall was crap. But I love General Santos, which is, according to the Canadian government, in the red zone, and all us white men will die if we go there. Complete horse crap propaganda. The reason why they don't want American and Canadian men going there is it's even cheaper to live there than San Carlos, where I'm doing it on $800 a month. I was easily able to do $500 a month, including all my lodgings and my food and everything in General Santos. Now, I wasn't dating because I had a woman up in Cebu, and I was spending about $100 a month to go up to Cebu every so often to see her. But if you can go there with $1,000 a month, or you have a $1,400 Canadian pension, you'll be just fine. Just fine. Because you're right, if you are much older than me, you will have to figure in a $300 a month healthcare plan for insurance, right? And there's a great guy, Mike Olmstead, a Canadian, who will set you up. You can Google him or find his channel on YouTube, and there's a Facebook page called Canadians in the Philippines, where I think he's one of the admins there too, to be honest. But great resource to meet other expats who have left, to ask questions, to do all those things. Now, I don't have a travel blog Facebook page. I'm just on a lot of them. And of course, I'm Zartuna. That's C-Z-A-R, Tuna. And I've got my page here. Sorry, folks. Let me just take a little sip of ginger ale here. Another thing I miss over there is ginger ale. Oh. But it's one of those things where you do got to start planning for your own retirement now. And the idea that everything's going to work out just fine, and the government that constantly lies to you and cheats you and steals from you is somehow going to take care of you. Sorry, unless you're new to the country so they can harvest you as a liberal voter, you have no value here. You're just in the way, and so they're hoping you'll hurry up, catch real cancer, and die. And the way I see it is, I didn't ever want to be the kind of guy who worked his entire life away to get 1 or 2 years of decent retirement. Then I'm old and sickly and bad-legged and crippled, and then I die a few years later. That doesn't sound like a great ending. So, I mean, if it does to you, then stay here and do what you're doing, right? But, like, I got friends who refuse to leave even though they're sitting on hundreds of thousands in their personal bank accounts because they've sold houses, they've already been divorced, they're already living a shitty existence. One of them was even living with his ex in a fucking rented room. That would never happen for me, but hey, to each their own, right? But every year you spend here, instead of there, you're spending at least 5 times the amount. So 1 year here is 5 years there. That's the way to put it, especially in old age. So, and especially more, I would say it's almost like 1 to 10 ratio if we're talking old age homes. Like, you know what I mean? So just really think about what you want your old age to be. I mean, if you're not into the young, beautiful women, and you know, maybe your dick doesn't work no more, or you know, you just like to just not even deal with the grief of having a woman, then fine, you don't have to. You can live there and just enjoy life. You know, that's part of what I like about Thailand. When I go, I do the elephant riding, and I know people think it's mean. It's not mean. You're spending money to the sanctuary, and that helps feed the elephants. You're doing a good thing, and those elephants are already used to being ridden, and blah 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 blah. Now, if the elephants are all covered in whip marks and chain marks and stuff that are fresh, then of course, don't support that place. But the 2 places I know near Phuket are fantastic, and the elephants are humanely treated. And, you know, I would rather spend 2 weeks there than 2 weeks in Pattaya, slumming with whores. Do you know what I mean? That's just me, right? Because like I said, I'm a conservative guy. And for me, there is more to life than just sex. And I know a lot of you guys who go to the Asia, and a lot of people think guys who go to Asia only go for the women. It is a huge draw, for sure, especially if you were over here and you didn't get your share when you were young, or it was always hard for you to find anything that wasn't gross. Because I'll be honest, I'm walking around here now, here in Canada, and I'm doing business here in Canada, and I'm not seeing very many cuties. I've seen 2 actually good-looking women since I've been back, and I've been back over a month now, or almost a month. And last summer, I was here for 5 months, and I saw 2 that were worthy of my attention, but they're both too young by North American standards. So even though they're in their 20s, and I'm only in my 40s, I can't socially acceptably mac on them or try to get them with me, because they'll get hate from their friends. Well, why are you with an old guy? Even though I'm not that old. And society as a whole will be like, why is that old guy with that young girl? Yet, let's be realistic. Young girls want older guys because we have money. We know what the hell we're doing in bed, most of us. And they can learn from us. That was why I was always able to poach and get young hotties. But those reasons are no longer seen as acceptable reasons, right? So even the young ones here will kind of frown on you hitting on them, right? They've all got this mentality that they're all supposed to be waiting for their Chad who makes, 6 figures in a year and it's going to be loyal to them, Because a man with money and success, they're always well known for being loyal men. That's a wink, by the way, in case you couldn't see it. They're not. If you have the money, then you're entitled to more. And so you take it. And it comes to you in droves. So there's a delusion on both sides of the camp there, on the women's side and on the man's side. When you go to the Philippines, that's all over. You don't have to play those games anymore. If you're an older guy but don't want an old used broken car, you can get yourself a nice new car. And if you pick well and you take your time, you don't pick the first shiny red car on the lot, then you can hopefully get yourself a good one. Like I say, I'd like to say I did that, and I don't know yet. The jury's still out. I guess it's too soon to tell. But it's one of those things where all those guys who get fleeced over there, who meet the girl they've been talking to online for a year and sending money to like a simp chump, meet them right at the airport and never find another option and then wonder why it didn't work out 3 years later and they're broke and homeless in the Philippines. There's a learning curve for those men, for sure, I guess. And you can't fix stupid. So smart people, logical people, will watch other people's actions and learn from their mistakes. Arrogant and dumb people say, no, it's not going to be me. I'm super smart. I got the best one right off the bat. No, you've invested too much money in them and you refuse to pull the damn plug because you see it as a loss and it hurts your ego. Whereas the intelligent people don't care about that kind of thing. It's a business decision at the end of the day, And so, whereas I know guys who double down stupidly and marry horrible situations, it's like, in a country like that, why would you do that when there's so many better options? And that's why I even tell guys, don't even waste your time shopping online. Don't join these web pages and these dating sites and then, have someone you're sending money to. No. Sell your crap off. Build up your bank account. Buy your ticket 3 or 4 months in advance. Land in Cebu. Fly anywhere you want from there. Maybe stay a week or 2 in Cebu to catch your breath. But don't take a woman from Cebu. Walk around. Drink at pubs. Promise yourself you're not going to seriously commit to anybody until you've had at least 5 dates. Give yourself at least that. You won't regret it. You'll be happier in the long run. And that's how you'll find a good one. When you're not desperate, when you're not a starving dog. So on that note, Happy New Year, everybody. I hope 2026 is a great year for everybody going forward. Regardless of what the world has going for it, you can avoid a lot of the grief here, there, and everywhere by just finding your own little slice of heaven somewhere far, far away. And like I said, if you're over 55, it could be Thailand. Thailand might be a bit rough because of the Cambodia conflict that's going on. That's always going to happen. It's a ongoing skirmish every few years, flares up. So I definitely wouldn't live near the Cambodian border if you're smart. But it's one of those things where, there's a lot of the Philippines, man. 7,000 plus islands. You don't go to a tourist trap. Don't go to Bohol. Don't go to Siacor. Don't go to any of these places that they deliberately, all these web pages will tell you to go to. Because those are tourist traps. I don't even think you should go to Dumaguete. If you want to live in that area, live in where I live. I live in San Carlos. I'm an hour and a half by car to Dumaguete. So, if you're missing some white people company and you don't, there's a lot of us in San Carlos, but let's just say, you can drive to Dumaguete. You can drive to Bacolod. You can drive to whatever. You can drive to all these other bigger cities. And San Carlos is not tiny. It's 150,000 people. And it's surrounded by other tinier cities too. So there's so many places over there where you can go. You can rent yourself a decent little apartment or house. Do not buy. Do not think about buying for your first 2 to 3 years. Tour around, visit many places. Now I would say, and I have said in other blogs, land with the idea of spending 2 or 3 thousand to buy yourself a nice new scooter or motorbike, or a used car, and have that so you're mobile. But know that every time you leave an island, you're going to pay a small amount that's considered a fortune over there to take that vehicle off the island you're based on. So, like for me, my yellow van is pretty much going to die on the island it's on. I don't plan on spending that $100+ to leave the island again. But if you're going over there with hundreds of thousands in your bank account, $100 to take your car to another island because you left the island you're on and you're going to go try another island, isn't that bad. And to have your own wheels gives you a lot of freedom. It really, really, really does. Now, I say that with a cautionary asterisk that if you're not mechanical, it can be nothing but a nightmare, because you will be swindled and scammed like you wouldn't believe. If you think mechanics are like priests over here, because mechanics in Canada and America, they'll rip you off like no tomorrow. Like, you've seen Bruce Almighty, I'm sure. You know how it is. Or sorry, The Mask. I think it was The Mask that had that episode where there's the bad mechanic. But shout out to Jim Carrey, another great Canadian. But if you are mechanically savvy, then that is the answer to go. I am. So for me, I can just buy a jalopy, fix it up, and I can drive it around and enjoy the islands. And tools are cheap there. And you don't need to travel with anything but technology. And rare hygiene items you're not going to get easily or find easily there. If you've got a certain brand of deodorant you've been using for 40 years, bring a few sticks with you. Same with things like Irish Spring soap. I've started to see it more now, but my first year I couldn't find it anywhere. And that's my soap brand. So now people know what I smell like. But you don't need much. You just need the money. And you want to have at least 2 or 3 bank accounts with the money spread out. You want to have them all set up for electronic usage, so using it on the internet. You want to bring yourself a decent laptop, because you're not going to find too much over there that's decent. And, you want to have a good cell phone. Preferably a dual SIM phone. And before you leave, like a month or 2 before you leave, order new bank cards from your bank to be mailed to your house. But don't use them. Just take them as they are in their sealed envelope in your luggage. So if you lose the one that's in your wallet, or it gets stolen or broken or wears out, you've got a brand new one already in your custody, and it will become active the minute you use it. Your old one doesn't become inactive. So that's another thing, another little tip and trick. So yeah, like I said, don't rush into relationships. Don't rush into purchasing stuff. Travel around. Stay away from the tourist hotspots. And start planning for your retirement now, even if you're in your early 50s. I know a lot of guys, like the San Carlos Foreigners Club there that I hang out with occasionally, they don't, most of their members are not there year round. Most of their members from all over the Western-based countries, so like Australia's and stuff, they come and go. They're still going home to their homelands for a few months every year. And, it's actually affordable to do it that way. And people say, oh, you spend so much on plane tickets and this, that. What I spend on my 2 trips a year, say I come back every year for Christmas and I come back every year for the summer. Those 2 tickets, let's say all together, might be $3,000. Okay? Well, when I'm only spending $170 a month in rent versus $1,000 here, I'm saving $800 a month. So it only takes me 4 months of being over there to have paid for the tickets just in rent savings. That's not including food savings, insurance savings, all the other BS that you get stuck paying for here in North America, utilities that are overpriced. Do you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where I'm a businessman. I count every cento, as I'm told, right? And that's why I can do what I do, and why I think you can too if you follow my example. So I'm always happy to answer questions. Like, follow, subscribe. Tell a friend, it's always thankful when you can share my videos, when you can share my ideologies. And yeah, like I said, and I'm always happy to guest on someone else's channel. So if you're a blogger, I'd be happy to blog with you. Come and visit your channel, and I appreciate the two guys here in Canada. They asked me not to mention their channel on my channel. So it was the one guy, that was his first sentence to me. He's like, I'll send people there, but I'll mention your channel on mine, but I don't want you mentioning mine on yours. I was like, why? And I guess they just don't, right? So, but it is what it is. I know that I do attract a certain amount of haters. I mean, I'm definitely not up there with some of the great haters, but, or Hades, I guess I should say. But I'm not everyone's cup of tea because I shoot from the hip and I keep it real. So, on that note, Happy New Year, everybody. Salut. And I hope that everybody has a great evening and doesn't get themselves into too much trouble. And like I said, if you're over here in North America and you're not happy and you're struggling and you're recently divorced or recently widowed, or you're just really, really unhappy, so you want to become recently divorced, there are options, friend. There are. And I'm just offering you an option. And if I can do it with next to no money, no connections over there until I went there and started building the connections, then someone like you who has money, who's, as I'm told in the comments, smarter than me, what's your excuse? Why are you staying? Right? Why are you miserable? Take care. Happy New Year, everyone.